What's going on, everyone? So, Jaylen Brown recently was on a radio show. It was the Big Tigger morning show with Jazzy McBee, a V103.3 FM radio show based in Atlanta. And he did this interview in which he was asked about the Atlanta Hawks, right? Would he ever come to Atlanta? Right? Jaylen Brown from there, right? And he said, basically never rule it out, and that it is very likely that even his grandma is asking him and has, on several occasions brought up the potential of him coming home to play, right? So I think that is pretty interesting because, based on the report during the talk, Brown, who was born and raised in Marietta, Georgia, was asked if there's any chance fans could see him in an Atlanta Hawks uniform someday, and he said, "You never know." They said, "I feel you." And then he said, "I think my grandma would too. You never know. We'll see." And then elaborated that, his grandma has brought up him playing for Atlanta and would love to see that as well. So definitely an option that could happen. Boston, right? We have seen, particularly this offseason, a lot of rumors about them potentially trading Jaylen Brown and that they were fielding offers and were maybe open to the idea, especially if they're looking to hit the reset button. Atlanta's kind of in this weird spot, right? Like they haven't given Trae Young that extension. There kind of seems like there might be a little bit of fallout at some point with them. They have this just like incredible young roster and core and just like really good defensive pieces and whatnot. And so question becomes, one, would Atlanta go make that move and make that shift to bring in a Jaylen Brown? Two, would Boston actually, I think Boston would, if they were to hit the reset button here a little bit. I mean, if you get guys like Dyson Daniels and, Jaylen, right, and guys like that to where you could bring them in, I think that, it would make some sense for that team. But I don't, if you're Atlanta, personally, I don't think it makes sense. Even if you keep Trae Young, Jaylen Brown, one, is super expensive. Two, he'll be 29 in October, right? So to start the season, he'll be 29 years old. I don't see this happening this season. So you're talking about him, if he were to come, would be the following season at best, right? Which even then, would they do that because you're going to have Jason Tatum coming back? So I don't even know if Boston would do that. But even if Boston would, is that really best what you would have to allocate in order to acquire Jaylen Brown, the picks and the players and all that stuff? I mean, if I'm Atlanta, I'd rather go after a guy like, Giannis, because just the cost alone player-wise, you could probably do the same thing and get a Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'd rather get Giannis and Trae Young than Jaylen Brown and Trae Young, right? Plus, I think James Johnson and guys like that, I just think that they're better suited. Dyson Daniels, right? You have just a really good young core that I don't want to see them break up or tear down, especially for a guy like Jaylen Brown. It's nothing against Jaylen Brown. I think Jaylen Brown is great, but I'd rather have Jalen Johnson and see what Jalen Johnson can do. I'd rather have, Zachary Rizichet and, Dyson Daniels and stuff and just kind of let this young core grow, marinate, and develop. Especially Zachary Rizichet, he really started to get comfortable out there. He really started to kind of feel like he was coming into his own a little bit. Jalen Johnson, I mean, he was really just an injury, but if it wasn't for that, I mean, he was really taking strides into maybe stardom. And then, you have Dyson Daniels, who's arguably the best perimeter defender in basketball. I mean, the guy was on a historic pace. He's working on his three-point shot and stuff like that. So you got Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I think Kristaps Porzingis too from Boston. So Boston and Atlanta, even have a relationship. So I don't want to rule it out. Never say never. You never know. But Jaylen Brown, I like Jaylen Brown a lot. I just don't know if he's your best player on a championship contender, because Jason Tatum was the best player. I know Jaylen Brown won the awards and stuff like that, but Jason Tatum is their best player. Two, Jaylen Brown is very limited and flawed for the money that you get. Boston kind of had to pay him the money. I just don't know if that's what's best for a team like Atlanta. I would personally, and I'm not an Atlanta Hawks fan, I just think looking at their young core, young talent and everything like that, why break that up maybe you're doing like a Jaylen Brown for, Trae Young swap, right? But like, I don't know, does Jason Tatum and Trae Young make sense? Maybe, right? Especially if Jaylen Brown wants out, or if you're Atlanta and you want to get off of Trae Young, then yes, it makes some sense. But then Jaylen Brown probably stunts the growth of guys like, Jalen Johnson and Zachary Rizashea and guys like that, right? So I don't even think that really makes sense for them. And then also, like, how are you going to operate your point guard position? Because Trae Young, like, this team is built for Trae. Like, which is why it's weird that Atlanta wants to move off Trae, because Trae is still young enough to be a big kind of long-term piece and component for this team. And then, like I said, this team and roster is basically tailor-made for him. So it's kind of just like, do you really want to? I don't know. I think it's a little silly. But, again, never say never. It's very possible that Jaylen Brown tries to go. I think Atlanta would more likely than not look to move off of Jaylen Brown if they can, right, at some point. Maybe not necessarily. I don't think necessarily this season, and they'll probably want to kind of see like Jason Tatum when he gets back, kind of give it a year. But like by the time Jaylen Brown's contract's ready to expire, I wouldn't be surprised if he's in another jersey. Let me put it like that. I wouldn't be shocked if he's not that. And like, look again, Jaylen Brown's a good player. He had a little bit step back, but you're talking about a guy that's making, like 50, 60 million a year, right? To basically be a 20-point-a-game scorer, 22-point-a-game scorer. Like, I don't think he's worth that money, right? If he was making, 35 million a year, I think that'd be a home run. But, like, again, you look at this season, 63 games played. He averaged 22.3 points. He averaged 5 assists, 6 rebounds, 1.5 steals, and half a block. Right? He shot 46.3% from the field, which was down from the 50% the previous 2 years. From three-point range, he shot 32.4% on 5.7 attempts. He's a career 36% guy, which isn't great, but it's not terrible. You could live with that. 2-point range, 51.5%, which is, again, down from the previous two seasons. It's actually the second worst of his career since his rookie season. So he had that regression. Free throw shooting, 76.4%, 5.1 free throw attempts. So, I mean, this year you're going to get to see and kind of know a lot about him just because he's going to be the guy this year. So you're going to kind of get to see how does he look as the guy. Right? How does he look as the best player on the team? Right? I'm not necessarily saying that they have to go and win an NBA championship, but like, is he able to keep them, an actual playoff team? Because they should still be pretty good, especially in the Eastern Conference. But there are some questions. I don't think it makes sense for Atlanta. It's that simple. But anyways, always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.